Hi, I'm Annie. Contact and booking info is linked in the description. So today I want to talk about different habit cues. And this goes along really well with the previous video that I made about elastic habits. I've been using the elastic habits system for several weeks now, and it is really working for me. I think it is the best habit design system because it's so flexible. So if you want to check out that video about elastic habits, I'll link it either in the cards or I'll just put a link in the description if you want to check that out. I've been using it for several weeks now. It's really working for me. I'm crushing my habits every day, and I'm also really excited about the process. There's something really motivating about that system. But today I want to talk specifically about cues. So you might have an idea of specific habits that you want to complete. And I think that understanding what cues are available and how to use them can really help in accomplishing your goals and habits. So first, let's talk about time-based cues. This means completing the habit at a specific time. And this works really well for certain things, but maybe not for everything. So if you need to be somewhere at 8 o'clock in the morning, you can set a reminder on your phone 30 minutes before or 10 minutes before to make sure that you are there on time. So that is where a time-based cue might work. It might not work so well for other habits. It just depends on you and your situation. Any of these suggestions could work for you, or you might need to be creative and find another way. So imagine, for example, that you want to do a daily journal writing habit and you think that 10 a.m. is the best time of day to do it. So you set an alarm on your phone to write in your journal at 10 a.m. But then you get an unexpected phone call from a long lost friend. You're on the phone catching up with this friend that you haven't heard from in 20 years, and the alarm to do your journaling goes off. In that case, it's not really going to work. It's like too rigid, and you're doing something else that's really important. So you're not really going to be willing to drop what you're doing and say, oh, I'm sorry, friend, I haven't spoken to in 20 years. I need to leave because my alarm went off and I have to go write in my journal at 10 a.m. It's just like too rigid. So it will work for certain things, but not for everything. And if you've set up a time-based cue and it doesn't work, that's okay. There's lots of other kinds of cues. You can just be creative and tweak your habit design until you figure out what works for you. So another type of cue is an action-based cue, and I use these quite a lot. So for example, an action-based cue would be after I finish my second cup of coffee in the morning, I set my mug in the sink and I walk directly to the bathroom and brush my teeth. So setting the coffee mug in the sink is the cue. The next action is brushing your teeth. You just do those things in that order every single day, and then soon you will never forget to brush your teeth. It just becomes automatic. So at that point, when a habit becomes automatic, it no longer requires discipline. It's just automatic. Obviously, if an action cue is after I do this, I will do this, you can also switch that formula around and say before I do this, I will do this. So a good example of that is before I turn off my light and go to sleep at night, I will write in my journal. So action cues can be placed either right before an automatic action or right after. And I have a lot of action-based cues that I use, and I string a whole bunch of things together. People tend to be more routine and have more automatic actions in the morning and in the evening, and then the middle of the day for most people is more free-form and they're in their workflow, and all kinds of different things can come up. Again, everyone's different, but this is definitely how I operate. So for example, in the morning, I wake up, I make my first espresso, I check the socials, then I make my second cup of espresso, and then I write in my journal. Then I leave my house and come over here next door to my office. I check in with my work schedule for the day, I check in with my task list, and then I exercise. It's pretty much the same every morning. I don't need to remember anything, and there's no real discipline required because it's just the same thing every day. Not everyone's life is that routine, but most people have like some pockets of routine behaviors during their day that you can attach other things to. So another idea is when I brush my teeth, I will think of 3 things I'm grateful for. Or in the morning, as soon as I finish brushing my teeth, I will do push-ups. You can do 1, you can do 50, depends on your fitness level and what kind of mood you're in. If you do push-ups every time after you brush your teeth in the morning, soon you will have Michelle Obama arms. And it's really automatic at that point. Look at your day and just notice the automatic things that you're already doing naturally. The things that don't really require discipline, you just do them because you do them, and you can attach other activities to those actions. And so that is an action cue. So another cue that you can use is a daily cue. And all this means is that you will complete this habit before the day is over and you get in bed. That could work for certain habits. It's a little bit too flexible for me because by the time I get to bed, I might just not feel like it. So it's just like a little bit too much freedom for me. And so when I choose window cues, I really like what I do before lunch, what I do before dinner. So I don't really eat breakfast. I do more of an intermittent fasting thing. And depending on what is happening in my body, I might eat at 11, but usually it's more like noon or 1. And there's just certain things that I do before I eat lunch. So that would be like, the journaling, the chores, the exercise. Now, another thing I do to make this a little bit more interesting is in the morning, I put on a sports bra. And it's kind of like binding and uncomfortable. And I do not take the bra off until I exercise. So in order for me to eat lunch and in order for me to be allowed to take off that uncomfortable sports bra, I need to exercise first. And that really works for me because if I want to take that uncomfortable bra off, I've got to exercise. And the only rule is that I generally try to exercise enough to be sure that the rings on my Apple Watch are probably going to close. And then I can take off the bra and eat lunch. And then right before dinner, I typically play guitar and do some stretching. This works for me because I'm not the one cooking the dinner. So this might not work for everyone. In our house, my partner is the dinner guy. He likes cooking and he's better at it than me. So it's really convenient. While he's cooking dinner, I do these habits of guitar and stretching. So this might sound fairly basic and obvious, but when it comes to habits, I think the more awareness you have of your cues and what you're doing and when you're doing it, the more success you will have just by having that awareness of cues and how they operate. Every action is initiated by some kind of cue. That's just how habits work. So once you are aware of your automatic actions and you play around and experiment with different kinds of cues, you can really dial in the best cues for that specific habit for the greatest success. So that's all I have to say about that right now. I hope you're having a great week. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments.